All right. Nobody asked for this. Nobody wanted this, but we're doing it anyway. Welcome to the Stormbreakers Weather Report, episode number 5, the podcast where the MCP gets a forecast. It's me here, Devin Lope on Longshank. With me today, I've got Dustin, the reliable realtor on Shanks, I believe, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And in a little bit, we'll have Ian, Science Brother Keel, on with us as well. That's his long chance, the Science Brother. And we've got some fun things planned tonight. We're going to go over, in my opinion, why Zemo's a broken character, and Dustin's going to fight me about it or something. I'm not sure. We're going to
This
play the
is
game a little bit later, and then if we have some time, we're also going to talk about the crisis and why some crises are maligned and why some are everybody loves them. So should get everything in today, but we will. That is the schedule. Do you have anything as we get started here that you'd like to plug or talk about, Mr. Dustin, Mr. Reliable Realtor here?
yeah. I don't know if I've been on since we did the hobby swap. Pretty much all of December was just sickness and busyness for me. So I think it's been a little bit, but if I didn't talk about it, the hobby swap happened December 10th. It was awesome. It was such a fun day. Um,
Boy,
I
I had a
got,
blast.
yeah, I traded. What did I start with? I started with a mystery mini,
Okay,
the ones that Games Workshop gives out to people
sure.
um, when they come in. I just had it in the box and I said, "Hey, what will you trade me for this?" And at the end of the day, I walked out with a functioning Game Boy Color and two new in box Nemesis Claw kits. So and I wasn't even the person who did the most trade ups. It was
Oh
just
my
an insane
goodness.
day. Yeah, the guy who did it the most started with petting his dog and ended up with like 30 Deathcore of Creed riders. I don't know what they're actually called, but it
Oh
was
my
like
god.
$700
Okay,
worth
so
of loot.
his first trade was I will let you pet my dog.
Yeah, yeah. So like he asked if he could start from that, and I was like, "Yeah, man. I mean, I pet a dog."
I will trade
And
you this to pet your dog. That's funny.
yeah, and so like we had a contest where I traded something with
You still there? I can't hear you if you're talking, but it sounds like you had a contest or something. I feel like I mentioned that, or I mean, I remember seeing the contest. You, um, like had a bunch of people try the trade up challenge. Hopefully, Dustin gets back with us
yeah,
momentarily. There he is.
I
There he
can
is.
I can hear you now.
Okay, I can hear you as well. You're good again.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, we had a bunch of people do the trade up challenge, and hundreds of dollars of value was exchanged. It
Just
was really
encouraging
cool,
the
and
trades is probably just a good way to go with a swap meet like that.
yeah,
Like
and
meaningless trades taking place end up with like the right things getting to the hands that want them.
yeah, it kept things moving around. People were not interested in what each other had, and so I did like a five-way trade where I traded something and then that person traded another person. So sometimes to get to what I wanted, I needed to go through four people and line it up. And it was really cool.
It's really cool.
I mean, yeah, and then like I said, I had somebody reach out to me today about working with me in real estate. And I try not to talk about it too much while I'm there, but that is why I do it.
That was the
And
sub theme of every
yeah,
swap meet. Is Dustin is trying to attract business for real estate. He's just
yeah,
like out there pouring himself at these swap meets. Please let me sell it or buy you a house, and
yeah. And somebody
it works.
heard my call.
Yeah, it works. Um, because I mean, you have a great personality, and when you go around and talk to people and they realize you have a great personality, and they remember the swap meet, then your mind will eventually reach their lips.
Thank you, man. You've got a great personality too, Devin. Just don't. I don't think your wife knows
No, no, she doesn't. Let's keep it that way. All right. So, what about when's the next one? When are you doing the next swap?
So the next one will probably be at the end of February or maybe early March. I haven't finalized the
Okay.
date yet, but it will be at the Battle Lounge down in Centralia, which is
Okay.
a
I don't think I've ever been
new.
there.
No, it's a new place. Um, they are not a traditional store. They're trying to build a community space. And so they have 4,000 square feet of gaming area. Their shop area is actually pretty small, and that's by design because it's a place they want you to come and play
Yeah.
all day, as much as you can.
Very much the
So,
paradox theme. It sounds
yeah,
like.
yeah, a lot of people that I've talked to in the game space have this mentality of let's just make a fun space for people, and the business will come.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
these guys have a huge location, which for me is a benefit because it's so hard to find space big enough for the swap because it keeps getting bigger. So that's always a logistical challenge is
That's what she said.
making people comfortable. Not to
I
me, she
had to.
didn't.
I had to. It was begging to be put
That's what she said.
in.
Right back at you.
Yeah, exactly. Um, okay, cool. The Centralia Battle. That'll
Yes,
be
I believe their
somewhere.
official opening is in January.
Okay, so
Um,
they're fresh start then.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
cool.
and it's somebody that I've known for a while that's opening it up, so that's always cool to support a
Yeah,
friend.
of course. I'll probably make a trip down there when that comes about. All right. Well, if you don't have anything else, I'd like to move into the main subject here. It, nothing else? Are we good? Any other plugs?
No, we're good, man.
Okay. Well, because this one's a
Yeah,
doozy, so I want to dive into it because you and I have been back and forth on this, and I mean, we all have opinions of maligned and successful characters, and I think the community in general agrees with me, but not Dustin. And he does not agree. I'm going to come out and say it's not even a hot take at this point. It's a community take. Three threat Zemo is broken. Now, I'm just going to state that, and then I'm going to open the floor for Dustin to counter argue before I go
okay. I want to make a couple disclaimers
further.
before I
Okay,
get into this.
let's. I'm excited.
Uh,
If there needs to be disclaimers before you're already on the back foot, aren't you?
this is not something I feel extremely strong about, but because it's so contrary to what most people think, it's just like what you know.
Okay, all right.
It's just an opinion that I have, and I will. While we're talking about this, I'm going to talk about like game design and stuff
All
like
right.
that, and I
Yeah,
just want to say like I some of it might seem critical of AMG, but I love their game.
me
They've
too.
put so much work into it, and it's a great game. So this is not like a you did this wrong finger pointing kind
Of
of
course
thing.
not.
It's just like here's some thoughts on playing with Zemo almost since the game came out. Yeah. So the first thing that I want to clarify with you is that I think the conversation that I came in with was Zemo does not um, break the game. Like I don't think that he's broken. Um, and there are a couple of points that go with that. So number one, somebody's got to be on top, right? Like
Okay.
the whole game isn't going to be balanced. So there will always be a top character. Can we agree on that?
I I would agree. I think there is always going to be um, a quote unquote S tier, and I think that the issue of balancing is just trying your best as a game designer to make sure that your S tier is not leaps and bounds away from your A tier.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Is that,
Um,
but
yeah,
yes, there's always going to be a best. Like there's always going to
yeah.
be a three threat we're going to consider best. Even if Zemo vanished from the face of the earth tomorrow, there's still going to be a three threat that I consider to be best.
hmm Yeah, and so based on that same logic, somebody has to be on the bottom of every threat level, you know. So there are bottom of the barrel four threats that Zemo, you know, could be compared to. But one of the things that I wanted to explore while we talked was, is it okay if the best three threat is better than the worst four threat?
If the best three threat, okay, so
Yeah.
yeah, I would say so. If I'm making that statement, I think the Zemo is the best three threat. Do I think he's better than the best four threat? Absolutely. Yeah, I would agree with that statement right out the gate.
hmm And is that okay
I don't
from a
think it
game
should be.
design perspective to have a couple of pieces that push up? Because like if you think about it from like a Magic the Gathering perspective, which is my main game,
Okay,
there are rares and three drops that are absolutely more powerful than um,
but
five
you're
drops, let's say.
but you're introducing rarity, and
hmm
there isn't supposed to be a rarity between characters here, right?
No, not so much the rarity. My point was more that a three drop is not equal to another three drop, and they can be doing different things.
Sure.
Um, I
I'm
think that. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm on board with that. I can see three threats having different purposes.
Yeah. Um, so that's where my main concern with Zemo is he is probably too good for a three threat when you compare him to the bottom of the four threat barrel. I'll
Okay.
concede that point to
Okay.
your
All right.
side.
So already you have some
Mhm,
concessions, but then you
mhm.
also have you've conceded a point in which is the three threat I consider broken is better than the bottom four threat. It, probably
I would
more than
say
just
so.
one. Probably
Yeah, I
quite a
would say
few
so.
four threats.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you
All right.
know, my opinion is not based solely on fact. It's a lot of like gut feeling as somebody who plays this game as a casual. Um, and the argument that I have is that Zemo does not need a nerf for a couple of reasons.
Okay.
Um,
I'm
we
I'm
can,
excited.
yeah, we can all admit that we've played five games and seen at least three to five Zemos, and that it's not exciting, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So I think of Zemo as the three threat to Beta Ray Bill's four threat. They're both incredibly strong, but they became notably larger threat when they were abusing a good tactics card. And like
Okay.
I think that that's where my thing
But
comes in. Is I think
Beta's
go
been
ahead.
he's had his cool tactics card trick taken away from him.
Yeah, yeah, and so I think that the issue is you take that hyper tuned character. Zemo and Bill do different things, but they're both hyper tuned. And you introduce a card that is so flexible and so powerful, that becomes the issue rather than the character themselves. So I would say that how they corrected Bill is how they should correct Zemo if they were to do that. Is get rid of his card or change it somehow because it's so powerful and so flexible that when you pair it with an already great character like Zemo, it's too much. It's pouring the bucket or overfilling the bucket.
Okay.
But Zemo on his own as a character is fine.
So let me break this down and see if I understand. You're saying so I'm just saying he's broken, period. You're saying he is broken because of his tactics card,
I'm saying
or
it put
you're
him
saying
over
he's
the.
super strong because of his tactics. You don't think he's broken. You're saying super strong.
I think that he is too strong because of his tactics card. Regardless of if that's broken or just over the top, I don't know. I think that AMG made a mistake making another card for a character that has been consistently good since the game came out.
Okay, all right,
Um,
we're getting closer to the middle ground, I think.
yeah,
But
my goal
but
was not to argue. I just
yeah,
wanted
yeah,
to.
no, I didn't think that you would, but I think I'm not even looking at the tactics cards when I consider Zemo. Um, I don't even. I would even concede that even without that tactics card, he is still a broken three threat. That
This
is that's what I'm saying. And I don't think I think we still disagree. I think that you're still in a little bit further away from he's not a problem than I am.
Yes. And now this is where I want to see if I can pull seniority on you a bit.
Oh
When
boy.
did you start playing? Did you play after Core Set 2 came out?
I yes, I started playing in March this year.
Okay. So pre Core Set 2 Zemo, in my own experience, it might be different for everybody, but when I played against Zemo pre Core Set 2, there weren't many people complaining about him, at least not nearly as much. He was a
Pre
very good
Corset
character.
2. So
Yeah,
what
he was a.
are we talking like I guess because I wasn't in the game, who was the problem at that point that was being complained about? Beta Ray and like CGR and Malekith? Like it's those times or what?
Yeah, like Malekith was kind of the. I think it was the year before. I don't have the release dates or anything. But Malekith was a big bad for a while, and Zemo was in that as well. But like, I think that there was something about him getting another card that upped his recognition of this guy's really good because now he can heal himself or gain power. He can do what he needs to do, and he's not just a dice machine, which is a good thing to be in this game.
Yeah, Dice
Um,
Machine is kind of a big deal as well.
yeah, but that's my opinion. Is that when that card came out, it took him from that S tier but acceptable to
Okay.
S tier but unacceptable. That where you're at with him.
So I think that you're kind of hinging on a point that I think we see quite a bit in MCP overtuned models, and that's that I think that Zemo was probably hiding behind the skirts of Malekith through CGI. I think that when Asgard first dropped and is now a little bit, there was a period of time where other things that also came out were just not considered to be remotely broken because everyone's staring at Asgard. And I think that Zemo, who's a character that's been there since the very beginning, hasn't got proper looking at because of the periods of time, like 3 months here, 6 months here, where Malekith, CGR, Thanos back in way back, um, and now Asgard, and like these new affiliations that spark such an interest with all the players, but they also spark like, oh man, if you just do this, you'll win the game every time. But
Sorry, man.
what's that?
Oh, my headphones cut out again. I don't
Oh,
know what's going on. I heard hinging on a point. I'm sorry.
oh, okay. Well, I was just talking to myself there for a little bit then. That's hilarious. Well, so what I was saying, and I guess I'll break it down more short form now, is that I think that you're making a good point. You're bringing out a good point for broken models and broken affiliations, in that when a new affiliation comes out that's like people have a lot of interest in it, for instance, Asgard, and it turns out to be very strong or even overtuned in Asgard's case, Zemo like goes under the rug. Or, any other model that comes out in that same time period, goes under the rug as like, oh, of course it's not broken. Look at Asgard, right? And I think that Zemo's had a chance to go under the rug multiple times under CGR, old school Thanos, and Malekith, and now Asgard. Like no one's looking at him, and
Mhm.
maybe they have in the past and just didn't consider it enough to change him, but he's still like a problem. And you're, I think that's the reason for no changes. My opinion.
Mhm. You think he's just been overshadowed?
I do. I think there have been AMG does an excellent time. Does an excellent job at releasing on a good schedule and keeping people interested in the game with new affiliations. I think they do a great release schedule. I think they do great advertising. They leak the stuff. They get everybody excited about it. They do boxes and like affiliations, which really gets people excited about a specific affiliation, and that kind of like hopping one to the next in a short time period keeps people like you and me with ADHD interested in the game and like hyped up to switch to the next affiliation without focusing in on the same games, like the same affiliation or the same plays over and over again. So like we get distracted, and I think the community gets distracted easily.
Is that how you want a game to be ran? Um,
I
do you
think
want do you want more things that are consistently good for a long time, or do you like a ton of change? This is a question. There's no right
okay.
answer to,
I mean, you, that's a good point. I think
because
I think there's value to both, right? The interest that's interest versus balance. It's a lot easier to balance something if it doesn't change every couple months. It's a lot easier to stay interested in something if it changes every couple of months. So I me personally, I like the change. You got me there. I'd rather it
see,
be I'd rather it be changing more than better. So,
yeah.
but that doesn't that
Um, well,
you weaseled
my
your way into
my
that one.
thought process on that is almost the opposite to you. I like things where when I buy a model, I know this model is going to be really good for a while.
Okay.
And I feel like Zemo, being in the OG core set, he's kind of also earned his place. Like he just came out and he's been this good. I don't think he's received a nerf or an errata or a buff or anything like
Yeah,
that.
no, he's
Are
never
we?
been touched as far as we know.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that there is merit to that in a game, especially if it's from the OG box, where it's like you can still buy this box 2 years later, and yeah, most of it is just for like learning games, but you can use some of the characters. But Zemo is a good character. You can start the core box.
He's a great character.
Well, now it's gone. They
Speaking
have
of
the
never
set,
being
but
touched, we have Ian with us here now for a third opinion.
very nice, Devin.
You like that? You like that segue?
Yeah,
Hey, Ian, how's it
it's
going? We
going
are
good.
we are right in the middle of discussing some Zemo points on both sides. I've come out just at the start and said that I think Zemo's broken, and Dustin's caveated that he thinks he is the that a we've agreed on a point that Zemo is too powerful because as a three threat, he's more powerful than some of the low end four threats, and we don't think that should be a thing. What do you?
Yeah. Well, I was just listening to what you guys were saying about because I keep thinking about 40K. A lot of people's complaints with balancing or whatever, and their balancing act was like, well, for ages they weren't updating anything, and the game was just busted for forever. Wasn't really attracting any like the tryhards, but that's the state of the game. But people still complain like, man, I haven't gotten a Grey Knights release in like 8 years, right? Now the complaint in that game a lot of times is like, well, shit changes up way too much. I got to relearn my entire army, and I think that kind of speaks to maybe what Dustin was talking about, um, a little bit maybe. I do
Yeah,
think as far as how this game is balanced, I think is fascinating, just because everyone has access to the same models, so the balance is all about like kind of individual models rather than an entire faction for the most part. Um, But I will also say, as far as so, Zemo's been good for forever, hasn't received a change, and everyone's known he's been good for forever. The problem I think right now is that there's, I think there's just been releases since the new core box has come out that has really kind of busted some of what he was able to do even more, or the fact that he is so cheap and gives reroll buffs like he does and reroll stuff himself. And the stuff I'm thinking of is, um, you got the shield Namor Zemo bubble, and that just does really stupid things just for buffs, right? Buffing friends around them.
Right.
Grunts from Nick Fury's shield will get a total of 3 rerolls on their 4 dice attack with skulls unlocked if they're near Fury and the other two.
Insane.
The Red Skull, new Red Skull with his reality gem minus kind of ability. That's the other thing that kind of busts him, and that's another, like I said, since the new core box. The other place where I think he shines, it's not really so much attrition, but webs, and that hasn't really been anything new. So that's the one that's like, well, maybe not there. So as far as stuff getting updated and how frequently, I don't mind, because usually you don't have to relearn the entire game, or cover works just the same way. And a lot of the way that they have been adjusting characters does, if they make complete reworks on characters, it's because the characters really needed it. Otherwise, it's just been a few tweaks. It's like, oh, now all of a sudden, so and so gets 2 power a turn instead of 1. But all the rest of the kit's the same. I don't think it busts anything.
Mhm.
I think
So
I think we also have to, come out here and say what. So I've given my opinion. I think he's broken. Dustin's a little bit on the. He's not completely saying he's unbroken or anything. He's saying he's very powerful. But we don't really. What is your perspective, Ian? Just overall opinion of Zemo before we get
Yeah,
into too much more.
and I mean, I'm definitely in the camp that he's broken, and more so of like there's a few problem factions right now that kind of highlights what's broken about him. But aside
Yeah.
from that, and we've all, the 3 of us at least I know, have talked about in the past, the fact that he doesn't have any downsides. So much of this game is a comparison game between characters, their toolkits, what you lose, what you gain
Right.
for using different characters, and he almost has like 0 downsides. He doesn't have control, but the best form of control is killing people, and he's very good at that. But yeah,
well,
I keep thinking again.
I was just
Oh,
gonna say I like how you came in, because Devin also said he thinks that Zemo is just straight up busted, and I kind of put the caveat that I think it was around core set 2 when he started to really show, like, oh, this is, you know I'm better than I should be. And then you came in and you brought up some even more recent things. um and so maybe part of it is I've been playing so long with him that, like, I don't put him on the table every game, but there's so many people that do.
yeah,
Yeah.
if it's also weird. The other point I thought that makes him busted, and I'm just again thinking of like my Warhammer experience, is I keep remembering Warhammers when everything was about auras. What auras and reroll bubble buffs can you stack on everything, right? I had a time where I could have a captain who could also serve as a lieutenant, reroll 1 hits to wound, ones to hit, ones to wound, give one team, reroll everything, and then everyone else near him goes one character doing absolutely everything. And it's not that bad in MCP, but when you can start stacking buffs, um, it's such a any like team buffs. I feel like for MCP aren't usually, I feel like, area effect stuff that brings your people up. It's like Iron Man can spend his power to let one person reroll theirs, but there's still a power cost to it. It's not skull like, it's very specific stuff. Usually, I feel like Shuri rerolls one character, right, but it's not a free everybody around, right. There's a cost to it.
Yeah.
The auras in MCP are so limited I feel like, particularly that are free, but they are so much more impactful for that. And now that we can stack them, um, that yeah, he's always been super good.
I
But there's
get
just
what
been
you're saying. Yeah, I get what you're saying with the stacking of rerolls being extremely powerful. I 100% agree with that. Is it is that like if you took a shield double bubble list up against Asgard, do you think it's close, or do you think that one side takes the dominant side?
the fact that I think it is close, and the fact that it is close, I think it should say something. And a lot of that has to do with other individual characters, Namor's ability to get around damage reduction, yada. But I do think
If
it's close.
you if you had to give odds like in that match, what are your odds?
Oh shoot, if it was Gamma, I don't know because I have not played it enough myself. I know I've lost to it. Uh, so the last time that came up, where I discussed it, this was actually with like Hyper Viper on the TTS League when he just wiped from the floor with me with his Asgard team. I was complaining that I had seen so much Namor that time, and he's like, "Well, they've got pretty good odds." Uh, so if I had to say odd, I'd say like sure, 50-50 even. It depends on dice,
Mm-hmm.
but we already
Well,
know, or at least think, Asgard dice are kind of crazy like that. And
yeah.
also part of that has to do with like just how that deals with skulls being unlocked versus a Loki. It's a pretty
Well,
specific example, but
let me ask this because I think that there was some discussion in the group chat about Asgard, being power creep. Um, compare them to people who came out a year ago. They're pretty different models. And so I guess my question is like, how do you stop power creep in a game where every model affects every other model? Because in these things that we've talked about other affiliations and other things that he's very good at, but it kind of seems like it's exponential, you know.
yeah, and I think power creep is itself a pretty general term. The problems that I'm seeing, if you want to describe it as power creep, is the ability to stack effects, and I think Asgard's a big one of that. Thor as a model, just on his own, very, very good, probably overstated. But there's a reason, like, he gets splashed everywhere. But him just being splashed everywhere isn't the auto win button that I'd say maybe Cosmic Ghost Rider was or Malekith was at his peak. But it's his synergy with Loki, the fact that, hey, if I have a character sitting on 3 health with an extract, do I want to risk attacking a Thor so that he can, I say the nay, maybe do 2 damage to me, and then Loki's stacked effect of doing a damage to me if I roll skull. That's the stuff that I think gets really obnoxious and overwhelming. The way I play my shield as webs, and I love Gwen with Lifesaver, and I love comboing it with I'm this guy. That's an idea of a stacked effect where you can really break stuff and
Mm-hmm.
or
And
create, let's say, a really lopsided scenario. Now that one has a lot more cost to it, but just think. So I say the nay is 3 power. Loki's What a Pity is 1 power, and so that's 4 power there. For me to do Eye in the Sky and Lifesaver, that's a total of 5 power. For a Namor Zemo reroll bubble, that is 0 power for 2 rerolls.
Yeah,
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
so
Well,
there's no cost to it.
yeah. The reason I ask is because with so many things that can overlap, do you think MCP is kind of locked in a spiral towards the Warhammer that you were talking about, where it's like, hey, we're gonna just try and overlap as many things as we can, because even if it's not just a strict zero cost reroll, um, if new characters come out and they're relevant, they're gonna have low cost powers and reactives and even free abilities.
Well, and
Um,
personally, I don't, just because I think these overlapping stacked effects or the ones that are very, I think you can get a lot of overlapping stacked effects, but there's usually a pretty significant cost, or it's way trickier to line up. So I'm like, I would say maybe my Eye in the Sky life survivability, I've probably only done it max 5 times in all my games playing it, and it's been very good, but it's not like something that comes up all the time. But I Say Thee Nay, and What a Pity comes up all the time. Namor's reroll, and Zemo's comes up. So I think it's more of how easy is it to do. Because the other part is, let's say maybe support. If we're talking about, a lot of us are playing Rivals right now, and how certain characters can fit into a team and what tools they bring to a table.
Yep.
You can kind of, everyone is somewhere on the scale between attrition and support, some way more than others. You got your Wongs. I think AMG does do a pretty good job, and even with like the new releases we're seeing, a lot of these characters I think just operate on their own very well and very uniquely, and don't actually stack those kind of effects easily that I've kind of been referring to. I haven't seen any that I'm really have stood
So-
out to me. What are you thinking, kind of, or what kind of examples?
Well, I just think that I wanted to see kind of where your line was for what we can stack and what we shouldn't. And it sounded like your issue was more that there's no opportunity cost on the bubbles, or certain abilities that are extremely cheap. And so, like, would you, if you nerf Zemo but you keep creating characters with this rule, it's only a matter of time until people start stacking them again, and then your whole argument starts over.
Yeah.
So would you get rid of that rule, or would you figure out some way to circumvent it, like it can't double up? Because
and
I think it's game design.
Yeah, and I don't think that's the only problem with him. I think it's just one of the clear cut and the pertinent issue, I think, that is showing up in a couple other areas, like I said with Asgard. I don't think AMG. I think AMG's done a pretty good job avoiding the whole stacking effects for the most part. I mean, considering you'd think a reroll just one dice aura bubble, it's a pretty, in 40k terms, that thing, that pops out of everywhere. Like anyone can get it with a character tag. Considering that it was only Zemo and Strucker, and they shared the same name, and AMG was aware of that. And then we've had Namor. It's taken from the very first core set to Namor to see a repeat of that specific effect. At least, I'm not that concerned.
Yeah.
I
They've done a really good job of recognizing power creep in things like Asgard, and at least doing minor adjustments. I'm not sure that it's enough. That's a discussion for another time. But the new characters that we're seeing coming out, and even some of the new affiliations in the past couple months, have been a mixture of, sure, these are really cool. Are they broken like Asgard? No, I think they slipped up with Asgard. But I think we look at like New Mutants and Weapon X, the additions to Weapon X, and we look at the new Guardians characters. We look at the monsters. You know, they have added a
all the
lot
new
to the
web
game.
releases. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that I could necessarily say that there's quite a bit of power creep in those. I think that they're used a lot now because they're really popular and they're brand new. But I I mean I don't think that's part of it. I think Zemo is worming his way into these new affiliations because of the things that you can abuse on Zemo and throw into those affiliations. Like it's basically like we're finding new ways to use this broken character, and that's what Shield Namor Zemo Bell does best.
Yeah. Do you think that I guess like I said earlier, my thing is like this is not something I feel super strong about, but I do have like the feeling that I like Zemo as a card. I don't bring him every game. My issue is like I really think that if you nerf him, somebody takes his place, and that's really all it is. Until they change game design philosophy. Like I'm not a fan of the binary restricted banned um, method because I think that a lot of times cards that would be fine with a slight change get overlooked. And so, I'm always curious where people's lines are because I think Zemo is very close to my line for, yeah, he just needs a straight up nerf, but I don't think I would say that he's there yet. You guys seem pretty firm that he's there for you, and I respect that.
I would say he's there for me. I think he needs touched. Like every altar boy in the Catholic Church, Zemo needs a little touch, and I'm not sure what exactly that would be for him. I don't, there have been debates both ways of like all the things like make him a medium move, take away his tactics card, etc., etc. But it doesn't need to be a drastic overhaul of the character. I'm on board with them doing a minor touch, but just something. His versatility is unmatched. His attrition as a 3 threat is unmatched. You see him in almost every affiliation, and if he's not in that affiliation, there's got to be like a severe reason why. The next 3 threat in line, in my opinion, is like Black Cat, and for totally a separate reason, like not even an attrition style character. Uh, it's a lot, and it has been for a very long time. But now he's like just still flying in there, and one of the best affiliations in the game as well with Cabal, like the Reality Stone Cabal. 15 threat is a solved 15 threat with Thanos, Zemo, and RS3, and that has been around since what Thanos' last update.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
I'm curious too, like I feel like there's certain weird combos that you can look at that he facilitates that you're like, oh, that just shouldn't happen. So like an injured death's decree Zemo rolling,
Oh yeah,
on his spender for 2 power, 10 dice, re-rolling all with, Master Swordsman, and then reality gem and his own re-roll. That shouldn't happen for like 3 power. The whole grunt example I just gave, like, that's kind of stupid if he allows a grunt to, hit as hard as a Hulk builder. There's a few items like that is just like, if it was up to me, I just figure out what the BS is and figure out some way to solve that. So I also think AMG's done a pretty good job with nerfing some characters to also give them other buffs as well too.
or like buff something and take away something else that was too strong to make
Yeah,
them used a little bit differently. I can see that.
AMG has done a really good job balancing this game. I mean, they've every now and then there's a CGR or an Asgard that come along, but in general, like you take any of the top, 5, 6, 7, the further down you go, the more skilled you have to be. But I think that there's a lot of competition in the game. Um, and I do agree that Zemo, you know, I I think you guys have convinced me through this conversation. He does need a nerf. Um, but I think it goes back to in a game where everything touches everything else, what do you have to avoid? Because if the bubble is a serious issue, how do you rewrite that rule? Because if you take that away from Zemo, doesn't Strucker have it as well?
He has the
yeah,
You
reroll,
know,
yeah,
if
but I
if
mean,
it, but he's not as good a character. It's not even
exactly,
close.
yeah.
But the double bubble is still extremely powerful on its own.
I don't disagree. I think that uh, if if they took away Zemo, like just made him in such a way where let's say he just took away his reroll, and people tried to use Strucker instead of Zemo in that same situation, it's just not going to go as well, and that speaks volumes to not the bubble. It speaks volumes to Zemo as a character. He's just so mobile, and like with his charge and his spender for 2 power to move right back where he started, that he can facilitate essentially two attacks. One being his builder on the charge or his
Hmm.
spender, it doesn't matter. And then he just spenders again and moves right back to where he was. So he never even left his double bubble position. Strucker could
Is
never
he?
hope to do that. Strucker's moving once and attacking, and then he's stuck outside of the bubble like an idiot.
Yeah. Is Zemo without his bubble too extreme, or is the gap too extreme between him and X-23? Because I've done a lot of plays with X-23 that are basically what you're saying, where she just goes on a rampage and she's a highly mobile killing machine. You know, is the gap too big for Zemo to exist if he lost the bubble in that situation?
So I kind of gave the example before of like there's a couple. I'm going to say specific but meta examples that I think are field spads, and that's what it needs to get addressed. So the double bubble we already talked about, but then if you look at the example for like the whole Cabal thing, death decreeing on a Master Swordsman attack, that's a completely different thing from just his bubble, and I think it probably should be fixed, and that's unique to him and Sif, I guess, who might be in a very similar place, but and that's why I think it's probably way more than just the bubble. But then you're right, like how do you affect this without completely crippling him? But then going back to my other point, I think AMG is pretty good about like, hey, if a character needs some heavy changes, like not leaving him out in the dark. And also, worst comes to worst, the way this game is built and balanced is kind of nice. For like if they do completely ruin Zemo, luckily he is one character out of like 200. So
Yeah, yeah, it
um,
wouldn't break everything. People would find another place, or Zemo would still be good enough
yeah,
to
my Hydra would
fly.
cry, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm willing to deal with that rather than facing a death's decree Zemo, and knowing that that's a very strong reality for any tournament play. So
Yeah, I think we have to make those concessions of like, yeah, I
and
like my Zemo and my affiliation because of X, but also there's someone out there using Death's Decree with Master Swordsman on a reality gym Zemo.
well, and
Mm-hmm.
not
It's
even
much worse than what I'm doing.
well, and maybe it's not even just a Zemo change too. Like shoot, change Namor's reroll bubble to strategic genius like Zemo's. Do something to make Death's Decree like either more costly or once per turn or less dice when injured or something like that.
What? I don't
Because
think you
those are
hurt
still
Namor.
effective.
He doesn't deserve it. But
No, but
if
I
you
mean,
changed if you changed Zemo's uh reroll bubble to match that of Namor's, like if you gave it the same name, charismatic leader or
right? Yeah,
whatever it
that's yeah,
is,
it's saying.
then not
Yep.
only would you be nerfing the shield double bubble, but you would actually be helping Hydra, who probably needs it.
Right. Yeah,
Because they'd have Strucker's reroll bubble and
that's actually
Zemo's,
not
which would
a
be a
bad idea.
really cool change, and I'd love to see it. But
Yeah, and like that's it's always the question of what do you change um, for situations like this where now myself included, we people agree that he does need a change, and AMG does a great job.
I'm super excited to hear you say that, Dustin. And I feel like we've turned a new page in our friendship now that
Okay.
you.
I
no,
I am not too big a
I
man
like to
to
think
admit when
Dustin's
I'm
a
wrong.
very reasonable person.
well,
I
I,
like you, Dustin. Don't listen to
okay,
this guy.
all right. I didn't say I wasn't liking it. I was just saying we've elevated our relationship in such a way that now I can appreciate
You
his
know,
opinion a little
Jeez.
better because of
Devin, the fact that our relationship hinges on such small things has actually decreased how much I like you. So I think
Yeah,
we're
it's
at
about
about
to
the
say,
same
Oh,
amount.
yeah.
that's hilarious. I'm just joking. You're fine before. Oh man. All right. Well, we spent a great deal of time talking about Xenoblade, as I expected we would. But I do want to get into the game, and if we have time at the end, maybe talk about the Crisis a bit. If not, we can pull that off next week. But without further ado, let's bust into this game and have you two competitors. Um, why don't we've got something different here that I want to try, and it was actually suggested last time. Why don't you two pick each other's characters? Uh, so an easy, a medium, and a hard. And go. And I'll give you a few seconds. Each of you pick each other's easy, and then we'll go to medium and then do hard. Dustin actually
Oh.
suggested it last week, and I think it's good because it's like, what do you think Ian knows? We basically don't pick anything in Shield. I would imagine avoid X-Men, but do what like an easy one might be in one of his affiliations, that kind of thing. Ideally,
Yeah.
you want to find a character whose bottom ability kind of self-identifies them for the easy one, and then for the medium one, you want to find an ability on the second row that uh, easily identifies them, and then so forth with the third. And so while they're doing that, I'll go ahead and explain the game that we play. We give each contestant 3 characters. The first being a medium, the second being, the first being an easy, the second being a medium, and the last being a hard. And we give out the question of the character. We start by listing abilities from the bottom of the character card. If you get it on the first ability, you get 5 points. Get it on the second ability, you get 3 points. And if you get it on the last ability, you get 1 point. So there will be 3 characters given to each person, and whoever gets the highest by the end wins some bragging rights, and their opinion is more valid than the other person's at the end of the conversation. Are either of you ready with the first one that would like to send off?
I have an easy one picked out. I do
Okay.
not have my medium
And since
hard.
I don't actually know what these are. I'm gonna have my own ideas as you go through here too.
Okay.
Personally guess, and maybe we can do like a ask the Devin
Mm.
somewhere in there.
Okay.
You
So
ready, Ian? He's got one for you.
this is supposed to be pretty easy.
Okay.
So Spetsnaz training.
We're just picking. It doesn't have to be from bottom up like before, right?
Oh, that's how I was doing it. Bottom up.
I was doing it bottom up. If you'd like to list
So
different
is that
abilities, just gotta
is
let
that
them know.
Bucky too?
No, it is not.
Ooh.
Okay.
The next line is rogue agent.
Yeah. So Bucky won.
Yep.
I didn't realize they both had Spetsnaz.
Yep.
Oh, I guess they're
Yep.
in different orders. Spetsnaz is actually the second ability of Bucky.
All right. Here, I got a kind of specific
All
one.
right, so
Let me give
Ian's
it a
got
shot.
3 points on the board, and then we're switching back to Dustin. We got an easy one for Dustin.
Okay, so first one is immunity to incinerate, poison, stun.
Incinerate, poison, stun.
Okay.
Let me see. I know it's not Bill because he's got more. Incinerate,
This actually
poison,
might be a
stun.
medium one.
Is it a sentinel?
Nope. Nope.
Okay.
But not a bad guess. Yeah, it's like 3 immunities, kind of specific, but immunities I feel like are hard. All right, so the second one is called overload.
Overload.
That
Can
only makes me think.
Can you
more
tell me
of
what it does? I don't even know the ability.
we haven't previously, but if he wants to, I'll let
Yeah, this might be harder than we don't see this character a lot. At the start of the power phase, if this character has
you.
8 or more power, it suffers a damage.
Okay, this is Bishop, huh?
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
All
Yep.
right.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
Ian actually picked the medium for the first one, so I invite you to be a little hard on your medium, Dustin.
Yeah.
Let me see. Hard on the medium, huh?
Because
I feel like we're gonna
immunity.
accidentally like see each other's as we scroll through this stuff.
That's okay. You do. I feel like immunity is at the bottom. Is actually a medium to hard example. It's
I
hard
don't know.
to remember a character by its immunities.
Yeah, it does narrow it down for some. I'm trying to find a medium one.
All right, so we actually have a tie now, 3-3, because Ian turned up the heat a little bit. So
Hey, I gave a pretty easy second guess.
you
My
did.
two were literally the exact same character.
Okay. I feel like this one's too easy, but I have one.
Okay. Well, now you're taking it easy on Ian after what he just did to you.
Well, I just don't want to hold up the podcast too long. So first ability, wall crawler.
Oh, that's not easy.
Spider-Man 1.
Oh my
No.
God. What a
Okay.
guess. What a pull.
Second ability, supersonic reflexes.
Supersonic reflexes. I don't know how easy this one actually is.
That only reminds me of one character. I think I know who it is.
Jeez. Wall crawler, supersonic reflexes. I want to say. I really don't know. The Silver Sable, but I'm almost certain that's not it.
No.
Okay.
Third ability, can't catch me.
You got to get it now, Ian, right?
I don't know if I can.
What?
I'm blanking.
Are you really? Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Okay, Quicksilver. Yep.
Oh my God.
There you go.
It's always funny, like the wall crawler with characters that actually can't like swing.
Mhm.
I feel like that's a good one.
So Ian got it on the second one, or sorry, third one actually, right? So that'll put you up to a solid 4 points. And so for the person that just asked, Vuju Ben, this is a game that we play. We have a series of 3 characters, one easy, one medium, one hard, and each contestant has to guess the character that it is based on the abilities given from the other contestant. In this case, Ian started off with a little harder than easy one for Dustin. Dustin got 3 points guessing it on the second try. Ian got his on the second try for the first quote unquote easy one. And they both had 3. Ian just tried his medium one and got a point guessing it on the last ability for putting us at 4-3. And now we need Dustin's medium one, right?
Yep.
All right, what do you got for me?
Well, maybe this is a little easier, maybe not. I think it'd be easier.
Okay.
All right, here we go. First ones, we've got flight and then gem bearer, mind space.
Oh, that should be easy.
That's Maw, right?
Yeah, that's my easy one.
All
so
right.
now we're equal.
Ian actually put an easy one in there as his medium, since he was medium with his easy one.
I don't know. It's always weird though. I mean, yeah, mind space, I guess, is a pretty good getaway. Some of the gems, if you never really use them, are a little bit weird. But
I feel like I could name each character based on the gems that you use.
Well, okay,
You're not normal.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I've played a bit too much. All right, so we've got Dustin skipping up ahead to 8 points. Ian's at 4, which means Ian, you need to get it on the first try on your hard one to even hope for winning here.
This is gonna be hard because well, the first ability is wall crawler again.
Okay.
Okay.
That makes things hard.
Yeah. Silver Sable.
No.
Okay.
The second ability is spider sense.
It's Spider-Man 1.
It is not.
Okay. All right.
The third ability is proportionate strength of a spider.
It's Spec Spider.
There you go.
Yeah.
He plays that one. I wouldn't have gotten that.
I figured it was like a guaranteed third rounder. Like the first two, you got a 50-50 shot of getting it on the second one. But
all right. Here, I got mine then. All right. Number 1 is I Can Take It.
I Can Take It.
I have a guess for that one. So
is it? Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say Ian did not get it until the third one, so he's up to 5 points.
Is that Honey Badger?
No.
Okay.
Second one is Driven by Vengeance.
Okay.
Driven by Vengeance.
Not Honey Badger.
Hmm. I
Yeah,
can take it. Driven by vengeance.
This is
Is
a pretty
it
good one. Hard.
Crossbones 1?
No.
that's kind of what I was
All right.
thinking.
So this
Okay.
last one probably is going to give it away.
Okay.
Hopefully. I think it's quit. Will expire. Third one is called The Destroyer.
The
Ooh,
Destroyer. Oh,
actually
is
did.
that Drax?
That is Drax the Destroyer.
Okay.
Yep. First two I thought were actually kind of good because I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of those damage reduction ones that all have like slightly different names.
Yeah,
Um,
I
and
was like,
Vengeance is the weird one too.
yeah, it made me think evil. Like when I heard
Yeah.
Since,
vengeance, I was like, oh, there's got to be a villain, you know?
since
Or
you
even
guys are
like some Ghost
actually,
Rider weirdness. Yeah.
Yeah.
since you guys actually have those up and are looking at them, we should throw me in on this game. You should each come up with some for me.
Okay.
Okay.
I want to participate. I never even thought about the possibility of participating. But right now, Dustin, you scored another point up to 9.
Okay.
Yeah, 9. You're 9. So I'd have to beat 9 over the 3 questions. Who wants my easy one?
I have a medium one.
Okay.
But Ian, if you have an easy one, we can
Sure,
go with that.
I'll take an easy one.
All right.
Okay.
I will not look.
Oh, you want me to give you an easy one? I thought you were throwing some out there.
No. I was gonna say,
No.
I want to participate. I want to try
Okay, so you want an easy one. Okay.
and like guess characters.
This one is easy. You will for sure get it on the second one, I'm certain. So the first one is martial artist.
I think easy is supposed to be
Easy's
get
supposed
it
to
on
be
the
the
first
first
one.
one, but okay, I'll take a medium.
Okay, yeesh. Let's see. Okay, here I got one. Immunity to bleed, incinerate, stun.
Okay.
I feel like that could qualify as easy. If you
I
get
think
3
so. It's a
immunities,
very
like
specific one.
Lead and
I'm not saying
stun.
I'm not saying I get it, but I think that people who know the game better than me would.
So it's not Ghost Rider. I mean, stun. I feel like it could be Claw, which is pretty outlandish.
You've played against this character a decent amount, I think.
Well, then it's definitely not Claw. Let's go with Bay Ray Bill.
Here, I'll give you just one more hint before we go on. So, John plays him. John Johnson.
Yeah, that's not. Still
Okay.
not doing it for me.
Second one is Only the Strong Remain.
Why am I blanking here?
This is my my quicksilver moment.
I guess so. I feel like I should know this character, but I'm blanking on it. Apocalypse?
Yep, nailed it.
Oh, okay. All right. Got on the second one. I got 3 points on the board.
Yep.
And it was more difficult than I was expecting it
I
to
thought
be.
the first immunities were pretty specific, though.
I guess so.
But yes.
I just there's quite a few with 3. There's not many with like 4.
Maybe it's just that you were too eager to get an easy one, and you didn't
I
like
think
my
that's
other
what it
one.
was. Yeah, I think
Take
that's what it
that.
was. You got me. All right.
Okay.
3 points on the board. What do you got for me? You got to do a medium one for me, Dustin?
Yes, I have a medium one. Now, this character does have a transform. And so that can either count as your first hint or not. But the
I'm
reason
fine with
why
that
I bring
being
it up.
the first hint.
Okay.
There's only
Okay,
like,
cool.
a few. So
Okay.
it's either Ant-Man, Wasp, or Miss Marvel, or Hood. Are you
Or
reading?
Captain Marvel.
Are you reading the character? Yeah. Oh, I thought I said that. Are you reading the abilities from the other form or the form that it starts
Normal.
the game in?
Normal.
Okay. Sure, we'll go with Miss Marvel.
You got it.
Oh, all right. Well, that was easy. All right.
I feel less bad now.
All right. I jumping the board up to 8. Who's got a hard one?
I think I might. It might not be as hard as I think it is, and maybe I'm fine with that, considering Apocalypse was a bit of a weird one. All right. So,
All right.
okay, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Unless you got one, Dustin. All right. So the first one's just flight.
Okay. Just flight. Let's go Crystal.
Nope.
Okay.
All right. Second one, titanium armor plating.
Ooh, flight. Jeez. Who flies and is metal? Magneto?
Nope.
Okay.
All right, and I'll kind of put these into. The second one is he has no third superpower. Let's go to his spender called Empty the Clip.
Okay. Ooh.
Could you recap them for me, Ian?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's got flight. He's got titanium armor plating. His spender is called Empty the Clip. He doesn't have any other superpowers.
War Machine.
Yep.
Okay. All right. That one threw me for a loop with the flight and titanium.
Yep. Yeah, it's a bit over.
I tied it
I'm
up.
curious how many characters out there don't have like 3 superpowers at least before you start hitting their attacks.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
There's not a ton.
All right, Dustin, we tied, so let's do a tiebreaker. Give me.
Okay.
You find a difficult character for me, and I'll find a difficult character for you.
Well, what
Or
about
should we have
the
Ian do it?
tiebreaker? What about the tiebreaker we did last time, where it's the opposite? You start from the top
Okay.
and you go down,
I like
and
it.
first one to get it gets it.
Why don't we let Ian do that then?
Yeah.
So I'm just picking one character that
One
both of you
character,
are going to
we
get.
both try to guess who it is from the top.
Yeah. So you read the stat lines like, if you were to pick Vulture, you'd go 3-3-3.
Yeah.
Wait a
Okay,
second.
cool.
5-3.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is going to be funny. Okay, so
See how long it takes us.
that one, it's like the builders are going to automatically give it away. I'm pretty sure.
I mean, yeah, but usually we don't make it. Like, hopefully we don't make it to the builders because you have defenses, size, and move.
Yeah. Okay.
Threat.
All right. So here's one. I got you. All right. So it is his stat line for defenses are 3-4-2.
3-4-2.
Physical forward energy.
It's not Pyro. That's my guess, though. I know it's wrong.
Devin, what you got? Or should
Uh,
I say it's first to whoever locks in?
Yeah, you're good. That's fine. He can.
All right. Not
he can have that
not
guess.
Pyro.
Okay.
On his healthy side, there's 5 health and a 3 threat. So not too much more info.
Human Torch.
Yeah.
Whoa! He did not
Well
know
done.
that. What the hell?
He's got a really weird defensive stat line
Oh my
that is
God.
kind of unique, but like usually no one really knows that
how,
super well.
How did you do that, Dustin?
I'm pretty sure, I was thinking about who was good on energy, and I was like, Claw.
Yeah,
I
that's
was
a good
also
one.
trying to guess.
I knew.
Yeah.
I knew Pyro. He's isn't he 3-4-3?
I think so.
Yeah. So when it wasn't him, I was like, okay, I think I know.
Wow.
I could probably do a few more if you wanted to.
No, I trashed Devin. I
Yeah.
win this week.
He absolutely thrashed me.
Yeah.
I stood no
Dominated.
chance. I will note after review. When you said that, I went and checked. There are only 4 characters with a stat block of at least 3, at least 4, and at least 2 as 3 threats, and that's Miss Marvel, Pyro, Storm, and the OG Torch. So good for you, buddy. You somehow knew this long dead model that no one's ever used anywhere.
Yep. No, that was good.
That was pretty good. All right. Well, we will get to the crisis next week. We've spent a great amount of time debating with Dustin, convincing Dustin that Zemo is broken and should be nerfed in some way, or at least touched in some way.
Yeah, I'm not all for make him a medium move, take away the bubble, just completely neuter him, but
yeah,
something.
yeah, something. I'm glad you're on board, and we think more of you now. But until next time, keep your eyes on the forecast, and may your games always be sunny.